It's a closed area. There you have a silent war between the rebel group OLNF and the Ethiopian army, and you have thousands of civilians that are fleeing the area. And I mean, you have NGOs like Human Rights Watch that comes with reports about human rights abuses. I mean, you have burned villages, you have rapes, and I mean, in this mess, you also have companies from abroad that are looking for oil and want to drill for oil. We wanted to go there to see what kind of impact the oil industry has for the civil population that are living in the area, and what kind of impact the oil industry has for the conflict.
Now, Martin and Yohan, you did both enter the country illegally. You embedded yourself with the ONLF, which is the Ogaden National Liberation Front. Martin, did you understand the risk that you were taking?
Yes, I mean, covering stories in a conflict area is always risky, and we did analyze this before. What would happen if we got arrested?
Like I told you before, I mean, this area is closed. I mean, not only for journalists, also for the UN staff or for NGOs like the Red Cross. To go there, I mean, you have to go illegally. But I mean, this is nothing strange. I mean, our colleagues is doing this all the time. So now we have colleagues in Syria that are there, I mean, crossing the border from Turkey without visa and doing stories about the rebels. I mean, so this is nothing strange.
Now, how long were you there embedded before you were captured?
For 4 days.
And in those few days, what can you tell us that you did learn about the Ogaden region or the ONLF?
The conflict level in the area is much, much higher than what we anticipated. There are clashes on a regular basis between the Ethiopian army and the ONLF. And especially in the Schibbye region, we were walking through villages. Recently, there had been people living there. Now they had been forced to fled due to the conflict. And there was heavy fighting going on. And that is one of the reasons that we were detected and followed and ambushed by the Ethiopian army there.
Can you give us more details on how you were captured?
The Ethiopian army spotted us, and then they followed in our footsteps for 3 to 4 days. And then they ambushed us. So we were attacked by about 150 Ethiopian army soldiers opening fire on us. And both me and Yohan got hit quite quickly. I got hit in the shoulder and Yohan got hit in the arm. And shouted media, international press, and were arrested.
And what were your first thoughts at that time?
We blew the story, basically. The first thought. The second thought was we need medical care, and we need to get in contact with our embassy. And in the beginning, we thought that was going to happen. But after a few hours, we realized that the Ethiopian army have other plans for us, and they start a 4-day-long filming story where they drag us around in the desert to make different kind of films.
What sort of films?
I mean, they forced us to take part in a fake documentary of what happened when we were arrested. So under gunpoint, they tell us, in order to live, you have to say this and you have to say that. They dress up two civilians as rebels who we never have seen before, and they stand in front of us. The army gives them guns, and they testify against us and say that we came with them from Somalia. They also force us to stand next to a dead body who is bluish, and you can clearly see that he's been dead for a while, but they say that he was killed and he was one of us. We get really scared because it's so surreal. It's like some Steven Spielberg production in the middle of the desert, and we wonder, I mean, will they let us see this and live? This is not done by, some crazy militia. The director is a vice president in the region. And in the evening, the president in the region calls us and says, "We're not satisfied with your performances in the film." They want to make a film which they can use against us in court.
And did they use the film against you?
Not only in the court, they even broadcast it on the news.
Both of you spent over 400 days in prison. Yohan, what kind of conditions were you held in?
It's more like a detention camp. It's 200% overcrowded. I mean, it's very hot. It's a lack of water. It's dusty. You have rats, fleas. Many people are sick in HIV or tuberculosis. It's not interesting about the condition in the prison. I mean, the interesting issue is who they put in the prisons. Journalists and political opposition.
Were the two of you together?
Yeah, we were together in prison. Of course, we were happy to be out, but our thoughts always go to all the people who are still there and our colleagues, fellow journalists who are there also for just doing their job.
Now, you were sentenced to 11 years in prison. You did get out after 438 days. Can you tell us a little bit about when you found out you were going to get released?
The trial was a joke. Meles Zenawi was saying on national TV 3-4 weeks before the process started that we were guilty.
Now, of course, the Ethiopian government would say that you broke the law, you entered the country illegally. They charged you with collaborating with terrorism.
Moral support for terrorism.
But the thing is, Ethiopia has been for the last years using its anti-terrorist legislation to crack down on media and to crack down on journalism.
Martin, do you have any regrets?
The story was really important to do. And in my job as a foreign correspondent, you have to take risks. We can never, accept that areas are closed for journalists. We have to try and cover stories in that areas for the people living there, to give them a voice. So no, I don't regret trying to do this story.
And what about you, Yohan?
As long as government is creating laws that protect themselves against journalists, our job is to break this kind of laws. I've done the same today. We're going to go out soon again. But first we're going to do a really good book.